This is Tennessee House of Representative Congresswoman Marsha Blackburn. I can't stand this woman, but that's my own personal bias. Obviously, she is a Republican, and for those of you who don't know it, she is an avid member of the Tea Party and an avid supporter of the Tea Party. She's also firmly in the Donald Trump camp to the point that no matter what Donald Trump does, it's 100% totally acceptable to her. That makes me believe that she's also in another camp, but I will defer on specifically stating what that camp is. I will say that before she was elected to this particular position in the House of Representatives, she did have several positions within the state of Tennessee. All of them were appointed, and if I'm not mistaken, she was originally from the sovereign state of Mississippi. Now, here is the interview that was done by Alex Witt on MSNBC.
Tennessee Congresswoman Marsha Blackburn with a good morning to you, ma'am. It's nice to see you. Let's talk about these polls here. Donald Trump has lost ground, slipping to now 5 points behind Hillary Clinton. Now her campaign is planning this aggressive ad blitz in several battleground states. Let's take a look at an ad here.
Every president is tested by world events, but Donald Trump thinks about how his golf resort can profit from them.
When the pound goes down, more people are coming to Turnberry.
In a volatile world, the last thing we need is a volatile president.
How far do you think ads like this, or this one in particular, for example, will go to defining Trump in these key states?
Alex, I've got to tell you, if you're looking at what has transpired through the primary process, it's ads like this that don't carry much weight at all.
Now, she must have missed the Willie Horton ads that they ran that basically sank a Democratic candidate for president, calling him a person that was soft on crime. And I believe that was Dukakis, if I'm not mistaken. But that ad basically destroyed him. So for her to say that ads don't mean anything, that's a bunch of crap.
I think people look at this and they say, this is politics as usual. This is what candidates do. They try to tear one another down. They see it as the campaign, basically, of personal destruction of individuals. What they're looking for is people that are going to focus on them, the voter, and people that are going to work to get this nation back on track. And in Mr. Trump, they see someone who's going to be a game changer, someone who's going to be a change agent for the way the federal government works. That's what they're looking for. National security, jobs, economic security, retirement security. Those are the issues at the top of the heap.
Oh.
Now, as far as the issues are concerned, I have to hand it to her. She's 100% right as far as the issues that the everyday American voter is going to be concerned about. The only problem is Trump really doesn't have any solutions for any of those issues other than the rhetoric about banning Muslims, destroying ISIS, which he has no plan to do that, bringing the jobs back, which, again, he has no plan to do that. So basically, it's a campaign of rhetoric. But, that's what a lot of these campaigns are about.
I'd like to talk to you about Trump's reaction to Brexit beyond that ad. While in Scotland over the past couple of days, he seemed unaware that Scotland voted overwhelmingly to remain in the EU. Do you ever wonder if he has enough command of the issues to be president?
I think Mr. Trump is a very bright man, and focusing in on these issues is something that you will see him do.
Yeah, but if he's that bright, how stupid is it to go over to a country and laud the fact that BRICS is passed for the UK to get out of the European Union when Scotland overwhelmingly wanted to stay, wants to stay in the European Union, and now has opening up the possibility of them taking another vote in order to separate themselves from the United Kingdom. That, to me, doesn't seem like it's all that bright to bring up something that an entire country is opposed to, that you support.
Paul Manafort is going to do a great job leading the campaign and bringing in some people who are going to be a tremendous advisory team to him. The Brexit vote, I think the lesson in that is looking at how people are fed up with governments that are out of touch, looking at how they are fed up with the way you have the EU reaching into their daily lives. It also points up the issue of the immigration and why.
Well, before she jumps off into immigration, which is on everybody's hot list, what it actually pointed out was that the UK voters, obviously Great Britain, were uninformed. They were uninformed, and the next day they had voters' remorse. At the present time, there are approximately 3 million signers of a petition in order to take another vote. That 3 million number is a strategic number because that is the number needed in order to force conversation within the House of Lords and the House of Commons as far as actually having to take up another vote. Now, it's been said that once this initial vote was taken, that it could not be reversed. I don't think that's true, and there's a lot of people out there that don't think that's true. If the people, and especially the House of Commons and the House of Lords, realize the damage that coming out of the EU will create for the United Kingdom, and in particular, it could lead to the breakup of the United Kingdom because Scotland is already making noise about negotiating a separate agreement to stay within the United Kingdom, and Northern Ireland is doing the same thing to the point of reunifying with Ireland and coming completely out of the United Kingdom. So this thing has a lot of ramifications. And Ms. Blackburn, I don't even believe that she understands all the ramifications of this.
Immigration is so important globally, not just in the United States, but globally. It now affects every single community, and it ties into the national security issue. Make our homes, our communities, our country safe, and then allow us to go about and do our daily work. As someone told me yesterday when I was out in my district, they said, if our communities aren't safe, we can't get around to job security, economic security, and some of the other issues.
But here's the problem. He's been officially a candidate for coming up on 13 months now. You just said you expect we will see him do this. He will get a command of the issues.
Here's a bigger problem. He's been the presumptive nominee for 5 weeks, and he has yet to state anything in regard to showing that he has a grasp of world affairs. Forget about world affairs, affairs within the United States. I mean, he has generated gaffe after gaffe in the last 2 weeks alone that basically would have sunk anybody else. Now, he's got avid supporters that no matter what he says or what he does, they are going to go with him. But now he has to make his pitch out to the general electorate, and that pitch, in my opinion, is not going to fly.
Why has hasn't he done it yet? 13
Well,
months.
you have seen him. I beg to differ with you there. I think you have seen a growing interest, growing awareness, and the issues that the people are, and bear in mind, he's not running a campaign, I don't think, that is tailored to meeting the needs, the desires, and the expectations of the pundits. His campaign is voting on meeting the expectations of the voters.
No, his campaign is tailored to getting out there and having, giant rallies that he can hoop it up in. But as far as any type of infrastructure, he has basically none. I think he has 70 people within his total national campaign at this point. And he had about $1.3 million of cash in his accounts. That ain't gonna cut it, especially when Clinton has, I believe, over 700 people in her national campaign, and she's got approximately $43 million worth of cash sitting in her account. You could say whatever you want as far as free publicity is concerned, but cash is cash, and you have to pay salaries of people that are working for you.
The voters, and showing that you're a good decision maker. That is what leadership is, Alex, is having the ability to make decisions when you're given the information to make those.
Well, apparently somebody didn't give him the information to make a decision not to talk about Great Britain exiting the EU, since you're standing in Scotland and they specifically did not want to leave the EU, to the point that they are now discussing whether they can have another vote in order to exit the United Kingdom. So, in my mind, not a good decision.
No, Hillary Clinton does not do that. Look at what happened with the emails. Look at what happened with Benghazi. Look at the mess that we are in globally. The issues with China and the way they're expanding into the South China Sea. The issues with Russia and the Ukraine. The list goes on and on.
See, that kills me. Anytime something happens, no matter what it is, whatever Democrat they're going up against, they always throw everything on that particular Democrat. Now, Clinton's been out of office for about three plus years. Some of that is strictly on Obama, but hell, I noticed she never even mentioned Obama once, which I guess that's a loser, since Obama's popularity rating is up at 56% now. So I guess they figured out that one's going to be a loser for right now.
How about if we take the issue of gun control? Because polling taken right after the Orlando shootings, it shows that 92% of voters, Republicans and Democrats, support expanded background checks. 87% support a ban on felons and people with mental health problems. 85% would ban people on federal watch lists from buying guns. Given those overwhelming numbers, did the Democrats who staged that sit-in do the right thing to echo the will of a majority of the public?
The answer to that question real quick is yes. Even though the sit-in was quote-unquote against the rules, it did echo the will of the people, i.e. freedom of speech. So I guess freedom of speech and the right to protest is suspended when you're inside the House of Representatives.
Well, go to the FBI website and you'll see that someone that is on a watch list right now, if they go in and try to buy a gun, that is kicked over to the FBI. That
is not true. If someone that is on the FBI watch list, or even on the FBI no-fly list, terrorist list, you pick a list, they're on it. They can walk into a gun show and purchase a gun from a private party, because there is no requirement for the sale of a firearm from private party to private party. So what she just said is absolutely not true. Now, I understand why people may be a bit upset as far as universal background checks are concerned when you're trying to pass a gun from a father to a son or daughter or to another family member. But in my opinion, if that family member cannot pass a background check, you should not be passing that gun to them anyway.
And you don't have individuals that are in this country illegally or non-citizens who can go and buy a gun. That is a law. The issue in Orlando is about ISIS and about terrorism.
Bullshit. That was a false flag. I will grant you that on the phone the guy said he was in support of ISIS, he was in support of Al-Qaeda, he was in support of Hezbollah. For those of you who are not informed about terrorist groups, ISIS and Hezbollah are mortal enemies. They hate each other. They kill each other. So if he was in support of both those groups, he needed to have 2 handguns, place each one of them to the side of his head, opposite sides obviously, and pull both triggers at the same time to prove that he was in support of both groups. That doesn't fly. In my opinion, this guy had self-worth issues. He was a closeted gay. He was a Muslim. He believed in Islam, which for the most part, period, is anti-gay, but not all the way out to as far as killing people. But that's neither here nor there. He, in my opinion, did not want to cast shame on his family, so he basically started talking about support for terrorist groups, figuring that he would go in, do his thing, and he never figured that he was coming out. So he figured he was going to be killed by the police, which is exactly what happened. He just didn't think it through as far as people stepping forward and offering evidence that he was swinging for the opposite team here. But anyway, that's just my opinion. Like I said, I believe that that was a false flag. And once he threw that flag up, the Republicans jumped on it, screaming blue murder about terrorism, where, again, it was just an act against the LGBT community because he was a closeted gay person and didn't and just couldn't reconcile himself with that. So anyway, so much for terrorism.
And that is where the focus should be. Also, the issue should be, and I encourage the Democrats to work with us on this. You don't know how you get on a terrorist watch list, a no-fly list, 81,000 Americans. You don't know how you get on that list. And many of us in Congress have had to get constituents off these lists, and it takes forever.
Now, I have to agree with her. If you get on those lists, it takes forever to get off and it costs you a bunch of money. Solution. Basically, allow a person to challenge the fact that they're on a no-fly list and give whoever the legal body is that put them on that list 90 days to bring a case that they should stay on that list, and let the person that's on that list obviously be able to present a defense, and that should take place in front of a federal judge. Now, I recognize that the FBI doesn't want that done because if they really are watching these guys, that they might blow their cases, but 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. You do have to give a U.S. citizen due process. Now, if it's a foreign, if it's an alien, okay, completely different story. But if it's a U.S. citizen, you got to give them due process.
Senator Kennedy, Nelson Mandela.
Nelson Mandela was on that list because the government of South Africa classified him as a terrorist, and we took their information and added that name to our terrorism list. That was a political addition. Kennedy was just a straight out mistake.
You know, the list goes on and on.
One thing, though, I keep hearing Trump supporters saying we have to bow to the will of the public, that millions of people have voted for him, that cannot be overturned by a few delegates at the convention. But on this issue, gun control, the will of the public is clearly to step up restrictions, and yet Congress seems to be ignoring it. How do you square all that?
I would differ with you on that, and Congress is not ignoring that.
Congress is ignoring that. If they weren't ignoring that, they would have brought Peter King's bill up, which would have gotten somewhere in the vicinity of 400 yes votes. And we would have people being restricted, from purchasing guns if they were on a no-fly list or various other terrorism lists. But Paul Ryan didn't want to put his members under the microscope, i.e., anybody who voted against that bill being for terrorists. So that bill conveniently died in the House subcommittee, and Mr. Ryan will not bring that up for political reasons. But she's going to deflect to the mental health side, which, again, that needs to be done as well. But we should be able to take care of all of this stuff at the same time, but they just don't see it that way.
We are looking at what is happening with terrorism and the terrorist cells that are now in 50 states. We have a mental health bill that is ready to go to the floor. Dr. Tim Murphy out of Pennsylvania has worked tirelessly on this. The Democrats need to work with us to pass that bill. We have Congresswoman Martha McSally's bill that would put some of the mental health information into the NICS system.
Well, I guess the NRA is not for people that are mentally ill getting guns. I guess that's a positive.
This is something that needs to move forward. And what we want to do is to make certain that we address the root causes of some of these issues, the mental health issues, the information share, taking down the barriers that local law enforcement says they have with getting information.
But ma'am, is there any reason to not address all of the issues?
Exactly.
Well, we are trying to address all the issues. We are trying to address
sitting in because there was no vote.
They were the sit-in was a political stunt. They were out raising money on that, and you.
Okay, let's give her that the sit-in was a political stunt. Okay, the people supported the political stunt. Therefore, it was not a political stunt. It was an act that was supported by the people. The representatives were expressing the will of the people. That is not a political stunt.
And I have all seen the forms that they were sending out to people to raise money. Their time would have been better spent coming and working with us, saying the root causes of this. Let's look at the mental health. Let's move that forward. Let's look at what is happening.
That is not the root cause of all these mass shootings. That is an excuse. And for you to say that the Democrats need to work with you, you guys need to work with them as well. So if the shoe fits, you need to wear it. But in the House of Representatives, unlike the Senate, the minority party has no power whatsoever to get anything done.
With terrorist cells. Let's bring in local law enforcement and some of our federal law enforcement and say, where are the barriers? Let's get rid of political correctness and how it feeds into this. Of course, we want neighborhoods safe. We're all opposed to gun violence, and there is a way to address this. The way to not address it is what the Democrats did this past week, where they violate Rule 17, Clause 5 of the House rules and go in and conduct themselves in that manner on the House floor, and then turn around and raise money off of it while the sit-in is going on.
I think that perhaps the Democrats got all fired up because they just had one too many mass shootings. And I think
their bills had already been defeated in the Senate.
Whoa, she brings up the Senate. You are not in the Senate. You are in the House of Representatives. Your legislation is brought separately, and if the Senate brings forth similar legislation, then you guys go to a consolidation or reconciliation conference to put both bills together. But you can't say that because the Senate bill was defeated, that you have no responsibility to generate your own bill, because I will counter with the Senate bill on immigration passing and it being sent down to the House of Representatives and you guys letting it die. So you can't have it both ways.
They were defeated in a House subcommittee and they were defeated in the Senate. And by the way, bipartisan votes defeated that bill in the Senate.
All right, Tennessee Congressman Marsha Blackburn, as always, thank you for your time.
Yeah, Marsha Blackburn is full of shit. That's why you have to pay close attention to what these people are saying, and you really have to listen. Yeah, she did a pretty admirable job of attempting to spin a way out of it, but the facts basically just don't support her. The majority of people in this country, at a minimum, if you forget about everything else, want universal background checks, and the Republicans, because of the NRA, will never bring a universal background check bill to the floor. It's going to be up to the Senate if it flips in 2016 at the end of this year, or actually 2017 is when they actually get sworn in. And hopefully the House, which I don't believe the House is going to flip, I'm going to be honest with you. I think the House has a chance to flip in 2018, but I don't think it's a long shot for it to flip in this election, but I think it's going to have a much stronger chance to flip in 2018. If the Senate and the House are in firm Democratic control, i.e. 60 votes in the Senate, whether it's all Democrats or Democrats with a combination of 4, 5, 6 Republicans, so that they can get past that filibuster rule. And in the House, obviously simple majority, 218 at this point. That is when you will see, in my opinion, based on public pressure, you will see some actual gun control legislation going through.